Welcome to Write Your Book in a Flash with Dan Janal, the only podcast where you'll learn how successful people just like you have grown their businesses, expanded their influence, and made more money by writing a book. On each episode, you'll learn the inside secrets to help you create a book that can serve as a powerful marketing tool to skyrocket your business. I'm your host, Dan Janal. I help thought leaders, business executives, and entrepreneurs write their books. To find out more, go to writeyourbookinaflash.com. And I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Susan Friedman. How are you?
I'm good, Dan. It's so good to be here with you.
Same here. We've known each other for, a decade, 2 decades through the National Speakers Association and other affiliations. So it's great to have you on my show. Tell us a little bit about, I know so much about you, but our audience doesn't. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Dan. Niche marketing, or niche marketing as I prefer to say, is what I specialize in. And I'm really on a mission to wipe out sameness and add some vitality and differentiation into your marketing, whether you're an author, speaker, a coach, trainer. I just believe in the power of niche marketing.
Perfect. How would you define niche marketing?
Is to find yourself a little corner of the world where you can just be the go-to person. And as you know, I spent many years in the trade show industry, and that's what I did. Over 25 years, I went from nothing to be the go-to person in the trade show industry. And it was because at the time, I didn't realize what I was doing, but different strategies of making myself known, and especially with regard to writing, and I know that's something it's very near and dear to your heart, but that helped me stand out from the crowd in so many ways, starting with articles, moving on to books, moving on to other videos, audios, I mean, the list goes on, but I managed to become an expert in that industry. And I took that and said, well, what can I do with it? Is it something that could be duplicated in other industries? And I actually met an editor and ran the idea past her, and she said, absolutely, and hence Riches and Niches, How to Make It Big in a Small Market was born. So 7 different strategies that I use.
Fantastic. That's a great background. Everyone listening to this call knows they need a book to stand out, so we don't need to cover that territory. Let's talk about the future. They've written their books. What can they do with their books to monetize their intellectual abilities and the book itself? How can they make money from the book?
So one of the things that I work with my authors on is to understand that it's more than just selling books. There's a message in your book. There's value, there's expertise that is all wrapped up in the cover of your book. And it's what I believe you're selling. You're not selling books per se. Everybody thinks, it's all about selling books. When people come to talk to me at Aviva Publishing about publishing their book, the first thing I say to them is, what do you want this book to do for you? Oh, I want to sell 1 million copies. I want to be on the New York Times bestseller list. Okay, well, I won't disagree that is, a possibility. However, how many people do you have on your mail list? Well, nobody at this point. Okay, so let's get realistic about what we're doing here. Let's look at your expertise, and is there an area that you know very well? Is there an industry that you know very well and that you could penetrate with your message? And that's what could turn into speeches, coaching, training, a lot of different possibilities. But it's understanding that it's the message and your expertise that you're actually selling and not, a book per se.
Wonderful. You know, a lot of people who are listening wear many hats, and they come to me and they say, well, my book's for everyone. And you're asking people to find that one particular niche when they really could be playing in two or three niches. How would you help them get focused?
I love that question because there's this fear of going into a niche market. Well, what happens if somebody comes who isn't in that niche market? Does that mean I can't sell to them? No, of course you can sell to them. But you put your time and your energy into one market. Now, once you've made it in one market and you want to move into another market, then do that. But don't try and do them all at the same time because you've only got a limited amount of time, energy, money, and you want to funnel it into the most lucrative area that you can. And the more that you penetrate a niche market, Dan, the more that you can become, hopefully, the only game in town. And then when you're the only game in town, you can charge more. I mean, just think of it in the medical profession. And my best friend is an internist. But when you compare what she could earn versus, let's say, a pediatric cardiologist who would specialize in working with your child if they had a heart condition, God forbid. But, if they did, you would want to take them to the best. And as such, that person can charge a lot more than the internist. So being a specialist versus a generalist makes a huge difference. Well, Does that make sense, Dan?
Oh, that makes total sense. If people looked at which industry can I make the most money in, I also temper that by saying which is the industry that is easiest to sell into, because sometimes the two are not the same. And then the third question I ask people is, who do you like working with the most? Because you could be in a very lucrative industry and actually hate the people you're dealing with. So life is short. So I would add two other qualifiers to there, but I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head when it's like, where's the money? Follow the money, because there are so many people who would say, oh, I just love it for the sake of doing it. There are a lot of coaches like that who just do it for the sake of doing it and want to share their gift with the world, and they're usually broke. Which is a shame because they have good hearts, but
it's
empty stomachs.
It's really interesting that you used all of those different examples because those fit so perfectly into what I call my GEL formula, and I highlighted this in the Riches and Niches book, and it's GEL. The G stands for go into a growth market where there's money, obviously. Then the E stands for your expertise, and the L stands for love. So you want to go into a growth market where you have expertise and you love being in that industry. So I think you nailed it perfectly. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for giving it an acronym. And it's nice to know that great minds think alike.
Okay. We've been around each other too long, Dan, obviously.
A lot of cross-pollination of ideas here. Okay, so you have your book. How do you make money with your book? I've done 85 of these podcasts, and that's the one question that everyone really comes back to among my listeners is, okay, how do I make money with my book? And there must be 100 different ways. So tell us a few of the ways that you found that your clients, you do publishing, you publish books as well. What have you found works best for cherry picking and getting in front of those GEL customers?
So obviously speaking, training, coaching, consulting, those are the top, where you're going to make the most money wherever you can in your market. Then you can go into now, of course, online courses, membership programs. People love templates, checklists. I used to sell checklists, I think 50 checklists for $50. It's like, and these were all things that I'd put together from my book. So when I have a book, what I like to do is to cut, slice, and dice it in as many different ways as possible. And tip sheets and checklists, people love those, and you can sell them. A subscription service, which obviously is a bit like a membership program, software, you can do some kind of certification program, train the trainer. All of these audio, video products, all of these are possibilities, and it all comes from using your message in the book along with your expertise in a particular market. So I hope those give you a few ideas that you can use. And I've actually got a giveaway for your listeners, Dan, a 125-point checklist of profitable income streams for authors, but trainers, speakers, coaches can use them as well, because it's all about your expertise. It's all about your message. And if you've got that nailed, then you can, work different ways in which you can make money.
Fantastic. Where can people get that book?
Well, if they write to me, it's Susan at Aviva Pubs, AVIVA, P for Peter, U, B for Bertie, S for Sugar.com. Susan at AvivaPubs.com.
Fantastic. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Good. So there are 125 different ways to make money from your books. That's...
Oh, I'm sure there are more, but I only came up with 125. If people send me more, next time it'll be 130 or 150. I don't care.
That's great. When people see 100 or 1,000, their first thought is, wow, that's great. There's so many ways. Their second thought is, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. Where do I go first? So if we were to cherry pick the 80-20 rule, what would you think would be the best use of a consultant or a speaker's time in order to really monetize their book?
I think first and foremost now are online courses. Any kind of online training. I mean, that is key. And you just have to look at the marketplace and people who are, course creation programs. That tells you that there's a big need. And obviously in our virtual environment at the moment, that people still need to learn, and they've got new skills that they want to share with people. And hey, online courses and ebooks, people loving ebooks, audio books as well. I consume all my books via audio now, because I can do it in the car, when I'm doing other things, in the kitchen, if I'm sitting and just taking time for myself. Hey, let's put the audiobook on. I love it.
Yeah, I love walking and listening to audiobooks. In fact, sometimes listening to an audiobook will help me get out of the office and actually start walking because I want to listen to the book. So it makes the time
and that's
go by.
it. Absolutely. I've done that too. It's like, okay, well, I must at least get out for a little bit. The excuse, I want to listen to my audiobook.
Fantastic. You publish other people's books as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I do. And, we've got a slightly different model as a hybrid publisher, And so under the banner of Aviva Publishing, we help people with the ISBN number, Library of Congress, the barcode. I always say the unsexy parts of book, but necessary. And then, of course, I help them with some book marketing, author marketing as well. But I have lots of contacts, resources for editors, writing partners, which I like the term rather than ghostwriter. You and I talked about that earlier. And graphic designers, people who do audiobooks as well. So I hold their hand through the process. I just don't do it for them. And this is a slightly different model. I want the author to own 100% of the book. Other than the ISBN number, which is registered under Aviva Publishing, the book is there so they can make 100% of the profit. And they really like this model. And, I've been working 25 years with this model, and we've published over 400 books. So, it's going well. I love it. People love the model. And they like working with me. I'm a nice person. What can I say?
Well, I can vouch for that as well. Plus, you solve another problem in the marketplace. If people want to be published by a New York publishing house, you have that ability because Aviva is based in New York, and it has that ring of authority.
People on the West Coast love it. People overseas love it. We've got authors in Australia, New Zealand, in Europe, and they like that. It's a little bit of prestige, but yes, hey, we just like to work with people, and primarily nonfiction authors. We do have a few fiction, but it's the nonfiction that I relate to. You know, I've written and had published 17 books, and you know, I just feel that relationship with nonfiction, because that's my background, is working in nonfiction.
Fantastic. Susan, tell us who your ideal client is and how they can get in touch with you.
So the ideal client is a nonfiction author if they want to be published by Aviva, or if they just want to work with me on the author marketing side. As you know, I've put together an author marketing mastery program through my author marketing university. So yes, I just love working with them and helping them find their niche market, because often people don't know, and I just have fun with them, looking to find out where they can make a difference and where their book will have the most impact, and how we can cut, slice, and dice the book to repurpose it in many different ways.
Fantastic. You're an excellent publisher and marketer, and I'm sure that anyone who works with you will benefit. So thank you for being with us today, Susan.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dan.
Thank you for listening to the Write Your Book in a Flash podcast with Dan Janal, the only podcast that shows you exactly how people just like you have built their businesses by writing a book. If you'd like to write your book but don't know where to start, you can find great information at writeyourbookinaflash.com. If you're ready to take your next step to write the book that can transform your business, I invite you to schedule a free, no-obligation consulting call with me by going to writeyourbookinaflash.com. We'll be back next week with another insightful interview to help you become a top business leader.